Hi, I'm Dawn and this is where Shabby meets Bling. Today I'm going to be taking a thrifted item, an item I'm sure most people would have passed on by, and I'm going to be taking it and I'm going to be transforming it into a French country shabby chic Valentine's keepsake.
I'd like to thank our host Jody from Jody at Southern Seasons and my co-hosts Becky of Kinda Shabby and Annie of Crafting with Indie Annie Jones for coming together tonight in this shabby chic Valentine's collab. You will find the links to this playlist and all of their channels in the description box below. This partial Valentine's Day heart box was thrifted for 50 cents and I got it last year and I've used it, the cover, for a couple of things, but this year I'm going to enhance it and make it into a full box. Not just any box, but a shabby chic Valentine's candy heart box. I will begin by taking the partial lid. If you notice, it does not have the little edge around it that would make it be a lid, so it would sit over top the base, and I am going to trace it, and I'm going to trace it 2 times over. I'm making 2 because I need to make a new lid and I need to make a new bottom. The existing bottom will become part of my lid. I am using a simple box cutter to score my line that I drew because this cardboard is very thick, and then I will come back with my little carving knife that I use for everything and cut it up for real. I absolutely love burlap. I love it. There's just, I mean, in the world of shabby chic and French country, you can't go wrong with burlap. And I am going to be using some natural burlap from burlapfabric.com to cover my little heart. You can get $5 off of a $5 purchase or more if you use the code ShabbyMeetsBling24. So here's my heart, and I am going to make sure that I have enough to go around the entire perimeter and fold over because I don't want to be short. And I also need a big piece because it needs to go in my hoop because I'm going to be doing a little embroidering. Well, my kind of embroidering. I've never officially learned how. I just kind of wing it and I do what I want. That's kind of the way I do everything. Once I have my burlap in my hoop, I'm going to take the heart I cut out, one of them anyway, and I am going to draw a little border around the perimeter of my heart, and it's going to be about a 3/4 inch bigger than the heart itself because I will be adding some batting near the end process of this, so it needs to be a little bit bigger than the actual heart cutout. The design that I'm going to be using is going to stem from these 2 stencils that I picked up on clearance at Home Depot years and years and years ago. If I see inexpensive stencils that are pretty, I grab them. I have a whole little Rubbermaid full. Of course I do. Of course I do. And I'm going to create a little design on my heart. I did do a little dry run layout of how I want this to look. So now I'm ready to stencil. And I am just using some painter's tape to hold my stencil in place while I trace my little lines with my little marker. I'm using a brown Sharpie, and I figure it'll be the easiest to cover with what I'm going to apply over top of it than any other color. When I finish in one area, I just remove the tape, replace it where I've already made my lines, and I fill in the gaps that have not been filled in yet. And then I move my stencil all together. I used the one design off of the first stencil in 4 locations and that fleur-de-lis smack dab in the middle. Now I am moving on to my second stencil, and I'm going to kind of edit and use just bits and pieces of this stencil to fill in the remaining area on my heart. With my design complete, I move on to the embroidery part of the project. and I'm using jute. I'm using jute, and I have a really pretty color of thread that looks exactly like the color of my burlap. I have started my design by pinning it in place. And once I get to a certain point, I am no longer able to use the pins because the design is so intricate and the pins would basically get in my way. So then I just start gently holding it and then weaving around the design with one hand while I sew it with the other. Once my design is covered in jute, I will come back and I will add some real embroidery floss or thread, depending on what you want to call it, for a little color, because I don't want it to be totally monochromatic. As I mentioned, I am going to be adding some batting, some quilt batting to my little heart top, because I want it to be puffy. I want my heart to be full, full of love. So I'm going to be cutting some of the quilt batting to go on top, and I'm probably going to end up using 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 layers total, because I do want it to have some real good dimension on it. I ended up cutting 4 heart shapes all together, 2 small like this, so that the edges wouldn't build up too incredibly thick. I am just hot gluing one of the smaller hearts down first on that piece of cardboard I cut out earlier. Then I come back with the larger piece so that when I glue it, it can wrap around the sides. Then I glue the second larger piece in place, and then I will come back with that second heart to put over top. I definitely don't want to see quilt batting in between the weave of my burlap, so I'm cutting a piece of linen like. It's beautiful. I love linen, and linen's expensive. So if you can find a good linen look to replace it, go for it. So I cut out a piece of my linen substitute, and I am going to back it with some of my Ultra Bond, my handy dandy heating bond, and I'm just going to iron it in place, and then I will take my heart, my burlap embroidered heart, and bond the two together. Once I have those two components bonded, I am simply hot gluing it onto that cardboard that's been covered in the quilt batting. Before I started gluing, I made sure I was centered, I pinned it in place, and you have to hold this really firm until your glue completely cools, or it's going to slide and you won't be centered anymore. So just take your time and be patient. It's worth it. Now for some embellishment on the side. I'm going to be using some of this burlap trim that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and I picked up a lot because it's pretty. Since the top is going to be visible more so than the bottom of the heart box, I decided to pin it and lightly stitch it into place. And I'm using as few stitches as possible to get this little part of the project complete. Just as long as it stays there and it doesn't slide off. I didn't use hot glue because hot glue has all those strings and you would be able to see through it. And I didn't use any other type of glue because of the amount of time it would take to dry. This was my fastest option. The bottom part of the little heart box is going to become the bottom part of my lid. So my first step in preparing this is to paint all the exterior parts of it, all the red parts. I don't want red on this. There's no red involved. It's all pinks and beautiful shades of dusty rose. So I am using this beautiful, beautiful shade of pink from Waverly. I'll leave the exact color in the description box for you. But it is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to cover the little rim on the exterior as well as the perimeter of the bottom of the box. I have cut a strip off of the edge of my burlap. It's that finished edge. And I'm going to use it to embellish around the perimeter of the lid of the box. And I am creating a pleat here. I want a little ruffle, a little burlap ruffle to go around the exterior. And I am making sure that it's relatively uniform. I don't want one little piece of the ruffle to be larger than the other. So I'm taking my time and I'm ironing each little part of the ruffle into place. To make sure it held its shape, I also pinned it in place. And now I am getting ready to glue it to the backside of the one part of the lid. And as this goes together, you'll see what this really is. That embroidered part of the box will actually get glued on top of this. And once my little ruffle is in place, and you notice it's the shabby part out because all the pretty embroidery is making it chic, and this little ragged edge makes it a little bit shabby. Love it. So I am using this pretty little trim. This also came from the Dollar Tree. And because this won't be very visible because that ruffle is going to hide it, you can see I'm gluing it in the corner of the top of the heart, and I'm just going to run it all the way around. And then when I get back to that top corner of the heart, I will cut it and glue it again right into place. Now we need to recreate the bottom part of our little heart box because I used the original bottom as part of the lid. So this is the other cardboard heart that I cut out. I am sanding it, and then we're going to paint. Let's paint it. Let's paint it. Hey, I got an idea. Let's use that same beautiful Waverly pink that I used for the lid of the box. Good idea, Dawn. I will be painting the front and the back. I am using some dimensional paint to fill in the little cracks in my corrugated cardboard because I need a smoother surface than what this allows, and I'm going to be adding some trim to this, and I don't want to see inside the cardboard. That looks ugly. So we're just simply taking some of my dimensional paint and I'm wiping it inside, and it'll dry fast this way because it's really a thin layer. And once it's thoroughly dry, I'm going to come back with that same beautiful pink and just give it a little touch. Just a little touch of paint. I have this absolutely gorgeous color of felt, and it's a nice quality felt, and I am going to take it and I'm going to trace my original heart onto it, and I'm going to cut it out. Then I'm going to take my heart and I'm going to glue it to the bottom of the cardboard heart that I painted. And yeah, you're going, why'd you paint it, Dawn? But you know me, just in case something shows, I don't want cardboard to show. So yeah, that's why. So I'm placing it carefully, and I'm hot gluing my little felt heart onto my cardboard heart. Now, you know, an unfinished edge of anything will not fly. So I am hot gluing the exact same burlap trim that I hand stitched on the lid to cover that unfinished edge. And there it is. There she is. And now I'm taking a different little burlap trim. It is so cute and lacy. Also Dollar Tree, both these are. And I am hot gluing it around the top of the perimeter of the bottom of my box. Say that fast, 3 times fast. I'm gluing it on the top of the perimeter of the bottom of the box. And then we're almost done.
Now for a little assembly, and then I will share my French country Shabby Chic Valentine with all of you.
Here is that partial Valentine's Heart box we began with. And here is what we turned it into. This is the felt lined bottom of our heart box. So pretty. Even the bottom's pretty. And there you can see the different trim that I added along the heart box, along the base of the box. And you can even see what I added to the lid. And I took it all the way around. No seams, no glue, just absolutely sweet and fabulous. Now let's take a look inside. There is the trim along that lacy trim, so pretty, along the inside. And I just took the little part that held the candy originally and glued it to the bottom. And that in itself made it a base. I strengthened in between the little wells that hold the candy on the underneath side with some mild temperature hot glue. And I used hot glue around the perimeter and some B7000 on the center wells on the bottom to glue it down. And there's that little shabby ruffle we made. So pretty. And the trim that I hand stitched to the side, and you can see the dimension of the heart itself with that quilt batting that I added, those 4 layers. And I'm so glad I used the raw edge on my ruffle. And there you can see the underneath side, how it all came together. I decided this beautiful embroidered burlap heart would look absolutely stunning in my dining room, just perched upon my French country pastry table. And there's the lid. There's the lid. I absolutely am in love with this piece. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm probably going to use it as a jewelry box. I ended up using 3 different shades of pink to embellish my jute design. I also used some of the frayed off edge of my burlap to enhance the design even more. You can see the little tiny itty bitty stitches all the way around. By doing this, I added a little more detail and a little more interest. So pretty. You could fill it with candy or do like I'm doing and use it as a jewelry box. What a fabulous gift this would make for anybody that you love for Valentine's Day. Thanks again, Jody, Becky, and Annie for joining me tonight for this Shabby Chic Valentine's collab. The links to their channels and the playlist are in the description box below. Jody, I wish you a quick recovery. We miss you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, share it with your family, your friends, anyone that loves a Valentine's or a shabby chic French country decor. You can follow me on Instagram and don't forget to check out my shop on Etsy. Leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. The best way to support my channel is to subscribe, so don't forget to subscribe. But for now, this is Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.